Oh my God, do I have a sports drama story for the hot girls tonight? When I say the Michigan head football coach was fired today for having an inappropriate relationship with a staff member, he was sleeping with his coworker. Men are so I guess there was a woman involved. Are we sure it was a woman? Not too much. Not that there'd be anything wrong with, we're gonna move on. Okay, here's my thing, y'all. Immediate reaction, is he married? Yep, he's married with 3 children. And I'm not gonna put his wife on blast because I read up on them a little bit and they maintain a very private life. But to cheat on your wife 3 weeks before Christmas, this publicly, and get fired from your job for cause, which means they don't have to pay him. So I know y'all probably heard some of the drama this year of coaches getting fired and then getting paid millions and millions of dollars not to work. Because his ass was sleeping with a staffer, they don't have to pay him. Now, I always remember Sherrone Moore for this moment when he first coached the Michigan team and he was in tears. And I was like, wow, to see a coach have heart for his team and for the game like that. All I'm gonna say is this: if it's one thing I know about football, from going to an SEC school and working in sports for the last 5 years, yeah, they would have covered this shit up if they really wanted him to coach the team. They would have covered this shit up if they really wanted him to be the coach. They wanted to fire him and they wanted to get out of paying him, and that's what they got because they couldn't keep it in his pants. I wish the best for his family because that breaks my heart for them. May the head coaching search begin because Michigan is a big job. People are gonna want to coach there. What the hell's going on in Michigan? College football is full of terrible people, but they seem to just be getting caught all the time. First they get caught sign stealing, which means stealing signals for plays from other teams, cheating in football. Then this guy gets caught cheating on his wife with a member of the staff. It's ghetto up there. Get it together, Michigan. The University of Michigan head football coach went from this to this in one day. Let me tell you what happened. Sherrone Moore has been a part of the University of Michigan football family for a minute. He helped lead them to a national championship. And when head coach Jim Harbaugh left to go coach in the NFL for the Chargers, he took over his spot. So yesterday, the news breaks that Sherrone Moore is fired from being the head coach of Michigan for cause, which means that they don't have to pay him. He signed a 5-year deal with Michigan in 2024 and made over $6 million this year. So that's a big bag he fumbled yesterday. The reason for his firing, he was sleeping with his coworker. And to make matters worse, sorry, let me give you the official text. He was having an inappropriate relationship with a Michigan staffer. To make matters even worse, allegedly this staff member was his executive assistant who had a 55% increase in her salary over the course of 1 year. You see here, it's public information. From 2023 to 2024, she was making $58,000 a year. And then in 2024, 2025, this year, she was making $90,000. This man has been married for a decade with 3 children, daughters, mind you, that are all under the age of 10 years old. And his last daughter was born last summer. I turned on ESPN this morning. I'm not saying it's the most reliable source in the world, but I wanted to hear what their lead reporters had to say. And they said that Michigan knew about this months ago. They had HR investigate and they couldn't find any evidence that he was sleeping with a coworker, right? Now some damning evidence came into the fold where they had to fire him. Now this part is alleged. I got this from the internet, but it makes sense to me. Allegedly, he impregnated his executive assistant. And I don't know how true this part is, but allegedly he forced her into an abortion and maybe that's what led him to double her salary. That's all speculation. Now, apparently when he found out that there was a coaches only meeting happening without him, which means he was about to get fired, he had an argument with his wife where he threatened to hurt himself permanently. You're picking up what I'm putting down. I don't want my video to get taken down. Left his house, went to an unnamed staffer's house, wonder who that was, and put a knife to his own throat, and then went to a local church where he was found because his wife gave his location, I assume his Find My Friends or whatever, to the authorities. People have been going through his Instagram following and he follows a lot of questionable, baddie type of accounts. Accounts that a man who is married with 3 young daughters should not be following. And to make matters worse, the woman that he allegedly cheated on his wife with, his wife is a blonde white woman, is also a blonde white woman that looks a little similar to her, to me. Now Michigan's got a huge problem on their hands because they've got to keep their really good players that are committed to come to Michigan and that are already at Michigan wanting to stay there amidst all this drama. A lot of people think the only way Michigan can save themselves is by stealing Alabama's coach, Kalen DeBoer, who's about to play in the playoffs with Alabama. And on top of that, a lot of people know that Lane Kiffin would have loved to go coach at Alabama, and he's constantly coach hopping, and he abandoned his team while they're going to play in the playoffs to go coach LSU. So, is it possible that Lane Kiffin does the funniest thing ever and abandons the team that he abandoned his last team that's playing in the playoffs currently for, before he ever even coaches a game for them, to take Kalen DeBoer's job because Michigan needs a really big name like Kalen DeBoer to come save their asses because this guy was allegedly sleeping with his assistant, forced her to get an abortion, and now went to jail. And now Michigan looks really bad and they need to hold on to all of their really good recruits and players. What the fuck? Am I crazy, or were they low-key trying to paint Sherrone Moore as some sort of victim on ESPN this morning? I feel bad for anyone whose life blows up in front of the public eye just like that, but these are consequences of his actions. Like, he's no saint. He's being accused of cheating on his wife when he has 3 young daughters, and he's a suspect in assault. So anyways, let me show you what happened on ESPN this morning, and you tell me what you think.
There have been whispers and murmurs about things that have been happening, and Michigan's HR department looked into it and found no wrongdoing. Now, clearly something transpired here this week that changed things. That changed the equation to lead Michigan to fire Sherrone Moore with cause and to say that he had an inappropriate relationship with a staffer. That leads to a series of events yesterday that culminates with him showing up somewhere and him being detained in the Washtenaw County jail. Now, we've heard Michigan's side of this. It feels like he had an inappropriate relationship with a staffer. What we haven't heard yet is Sherrone Moore's side of this.
Like,
and
huh?
he gets his say into this particular situation as well. And I do know that he felt like people had it in for him for an awful long time. But the whole situation itself is just sad and tragic because now we have a individual who had his professional life, his personal life completely upended. We have a school with a bunch of players who don't have a coach to turn to right now. We have a school in search of a program, a new coach to lead forth that program.
Like, who gives a fuck about that?
Sherrone Moore is allowed to say, hey, you say this, but this is what happened. And this is my version of the story. I don't know how he would respond to that and what evidence he has that that is not true. But clearly, the school feels like it has overwhelming evidence that it was left no choice but to make this decision.
Now, I love this part. Let Paul cook, because I felt like I was going crazy watching that, y'all.
Yeah, Adam, I'm just a little bit confused. It may very well be true that everyone was out to get him or some of the people were out to get him, but that doesn't change the facts of the story as the school sees them. And the HR did not find whatever they did not find, but the HR is actually not the FBI. They eventually found something. So I'm trying to understand how 2 things can be true. If indeed the university found irrefutable evidence against Sherrone Moore, then they did the right thing, and he can certainly take legal recourse. But it feels like you are suggesting that maybe he has been outed because people just didn't like him or out to get him. And that's a pretty dramatic change of things here, because if he did what we believe he did, it's a pretty pathetic thing for somebody to wonder if just because somebody may have been out to get him, he lost his job.
Hold on. So then Ryan Clark steps in and he says his piece. And y'all, when Ryan Clark speaks, like, he be eating to me. Hold on. Y'all gotta listen to this. So then they change the subject. They start talking about what's next for Michigan, like who's gonna be the next coach, right?
I think from the Sherrone Moore point of view, you have to look at his failures as well. He failed, if these things are true, he failed his family. Yeah. He failed the young men he was in charge of leading and coaching. And he also failed a community of coaches who would love to follow him to get an opportunity to coach at a historically great university like a Michigan. And we also have to think about this young lady who was a subordinate and what these accusations or what these actions will do to her for the rest of her life. And so now if you're Sherrone Moore, who was the first African-American head coach at the University of Michigan, there's also a community that would love to follow in your footsteps that will be partly judged because of your actions. He does have to own that. He does have to, at some point, acknowledge that. He has to be held accountable for that, whether these things are true and someone was after him or not.
I see where Adam Schefter is coming from, actually, because the football world is crawling with bad people. I'll say the quiet part out loud. If he were 12-0 and about to win the national championship, they would cover this up, because the football world is full of people who do bad things to women and their families and to children. The football world is full of shitty people, and they cover it up every single day if they're doing good enough at their job. Tolerance is as high as your talent. So if he were 12-0, no one would know about this. So someone was probably out to get him, but he's not a victim.
The head coach of Michigan got arrested not for cheating, but because he broke into the woman's crib that he was cheating with and tried to send himself and her to the Lord and Savior. What's crazy, she not even the one that told the school on him. DoorDash snitched on him. The school found out because he decided to order a Plan B to the school, and the DoorDasher recognized him and snitched. He even gave Shawty a 55% raise. The school found out, fired him. He lost 13 mil. His wife don't want him no more, so he left the crib, went to Shawty's house, broke in, whipped out a blade, and basically threatened the woman and held her there for like a good little minute, debating on, is it time for him and her to go? Police ended up finding him at a church. DoorDasher, don't DoorDash there no more, because he's looking for you, I think. If you want to get mad at the woman for messing with a married man, okay, that's one argument. But to blame her for him getting fired, when he got fired because his ass wanted to order a Plan B to the school, and one of them snitched on him, it's crazy. Now you finna be cheating with boys in jail.